Hello and welcome back to another episode of DCU Daily. I am back. It's been a few weeks, and I'm finally back. So I was down with the flu. I still have like a cough. So if I'm coughing throughout the show, then I apologize in advance. I'll try to mute myself so you guys are not hearing it. But I'm feeling good. Finally feeling good enough to be back on the show. So I missed you guys, of course. John has been holding down the fort. And we've got a lot to talk about today, with the Joker news, then, with James Gunn then went on and debunked, so we're going to talk about that. But still, it kind of begs the question, what about Barry Keoghan's Joker, and where does he fit into the Batman universe? Is he going to be in the next movie that's coming out in a couple of years? Will the character have anything to do with, like, the larger story of Gotham in the Batman epic crime saga? So to do that and so much more, of course, as always, I've got with me John, who, like I mentioned, you've been holding down the fort so well.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't
how
go
have you
that
been?
far. I wouldn't go that far. But
Yeah.
so he's been down with the sickness, guys. But he himself is not down with it, but he was down with it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've been okay. It's been a lot, so I'm glad I don't have to do all this. I'm just a participant for now. Yay. Um but kidding aside, of course, it's very nice to be, with Dan again, of course. And it was stressful, but we made it work. We made it work. Liz, Bridget, y'all are great. And we appreciate you. So yeah, let's get into it before I keep rambling for no reason. I can't talk.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, I'll lend a hand. So basically, there's a lot of news, as there always is in the world of DC. The last few days, you guys have been talking about, things like the Penguin, of course. We've got news on Superman with Nicholas Hoult talking about James Gunn's vision of the new DCU. We're looking ahead to Creature Commandos, which is, well less than a month away now. From coming out and kicking off the new DCU. But there's, of course, the Penguin coming up with a season finale or series finale. As of right now, we don't know if it's going to have another season. So I think that's where this rumor sort of started, because people were like, well, there's been this idea that we're potentially going to get another villain series between Batman 2 and Batman 3, the Batman 2 and the Batman 3. And if the Penguin is not going to survive, the Batman 2, which is speculation. We have no idea where the Penguin will end up by the end of the second Batman movie. People were wondering, hey, maybe the next thing they do in the universe is like, they do a movie, then they do a villain-focused series, then do another movie. So naturally, with Barry Keoghan's Joker being in that deleted scene from the first film, which, look, I mean, he shows up like very briefly at the end of the movie in Arkham. Some might say befriending the Riddler. But beyond that, officially, I mean, of course, his scene, the deleted scene, is still a deleted scene. If it's not in the movie, it's not really canon per se. I mean, they put it out there, and ultimately, it doesn't really.
It kind of depends on, like, you can like retroactively be like, okay, yeah, this is canon because we went off of this way, but like, obviously, we'll have to see if it is or not, because I mean, it all depends. Like, some directors be like, everything I shot, no matter what, is canon. It's not shown. Some people are like, oh yeah, everything only in the theatrical cut or even a director's cut. That's the only thing that's canon. So it all like depends on, how they view that, I guess. Like how they view like their own canon. But we'll obviously have to see.
Right, exactly. I mean, and it's kind of the gray area, right? Like, and at the end of the day, that scene didn't really have a ton of consequential stuff to it. It's more just, it was one of those things where I'm sure they put it out because they were like, it's like fan service, because the Joker's sort of directing the Batman to, like, oh, you didn't look over this clue, and I kind of know how you think this way, and he's sort of playing at his emotions. And Robert Pattinson's Batman, of course, is emotionally volatile in the movie, and you see that vulnerability come out both when he's talking to the Riddler and even in that deleted scene with the Joker. So at the end of the day, it seems like there's a pass between the two characters, but beyond that, we don't really know a ton for what Barry Keoghan's Joker actually is in this universe. Now, the rumor was, of course, the series is being developed for HBO or by HBO for Max, or some basically in the same realm as the Penguin. And this sort of persists. I mean, does in Snyder, we have of course seen reports from him in recent weeks and months, and he's an Hollywood insider who generally gets it right, but as with a lot of scoopers, like they don't always get it right, and the same applies here. It seems like because after the rumor was out there for like a good day, it started this morning. We got an update because James Gunn pops on the internet because of course he's busy, finishing filming Peacemaker, and then he debunked it, and in a post on his profile. So I'll pull
Caleb
up his
was
post
just
directly.
saying that in the chat. Caleb was just like, "Didn't James Gunn debunk this?" Wait 2 seconds. There, boom, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, of course, but yes, boom, debunking it. Just coming in, James Gunn's be like, no, this is BS," which makes sense. Because a couple of you guys mentioned yesterday when me and Bridget were talking about like fan casting and stuff. They're like, "Oh, there's the Joker series." I'm like, that's gotta, like, I saw that and I thought people were just like, oh, it was like this little like, oh, I heard from a guy, heard from a guy, heard from a guy, heard from a guy. That's why I didn't like mention it. No offense to you guys, but I'm like, that sounds so abhorrently fake. And then Dan was messaging me all these articles. I'm like, this has got to be fucking fake. And then there we go. I like, not to sound like mean or anything, but like, we got a deleted scene, as you were saying, we got a deleted scene, and we got the ending. No way off of one miniseries, off of a completely different character, are we getting an entire series of a guy who maybe had like 3 minutes of canonical screen time, not even. Like, that seems really silly. That's really pushing it. Unless that was like a Zaslav thing where he was like, now that this is getting press and good reviews and money for us, green light every villain miniseries. Do it, James Gunn. So like, that's the only thing I could see. But yeah, that's little truth to this. It just, I mean, would I like to see it? Sure, because I believe Barry Keoghan could be a great Joker. I still don't love how they're doing the character. Again, Matt Reeves and his like ultra super realism, where it's like, oh, it's like a genetic disorder thing, and it's like that's physical thing. Like, I don't hate it, I don't love it though either. He just looks like a walking tumor, and just like, it's an interesting way. It's just like, can we make the Joker look clean again? Like, I don't love the movie, but Jack Nicholson had the best look for the Joker.
It was a very slick look. Like,
I like the slick look. I like it when he looks like that.
And he made it look creepy still.
Not to hate Heath Ledger. I just don't like the haphazard makeup look. I really don't. Like, I don't like the haphazard kind of gross look. I get, obviously they work for these because they're ultra realistic. They're not like, the guy who fell into a tub of acid type of shit. I understand that, but I love, hell, even Cesar Romero had to fucking paint over his mustache. That looked better, like, to me. So I just want make the Joker clean again. That's the thing I'm going. But like, I love this look. Like, I think Jack Nicholson had like the perfect hair. He had like kind of the widow's peak going on. I like the makeup with how they made that look. Like, it looks really good. Like, I like that look. And I think that's the best the Joker has ever looked in live action. In my personal opinion. Not like he's had a ton, but even then, like, I think I like the clean look. I don't like the messy look. I don't like the weird tumor fucking look. But I like this. Like, this looks, that was just so this Joker look peaked right here. And that's saying a lot coming from me. So, I think, I mean, but that's the thing about Tim Burton. He can do aesthetic and visuals great. Like, I don't love his movies because because it was like, he's a visual guy. He's a visual, storyteller, kind of like, Zack Snyder, except Tim Burton actually has more than one good movie to his name. But Tim Burton, he's visual. He's the gothic guy. He's the goth emo visual guy. And you know what? Whenever it comes to anything, like, say what you will about his Batman movies, and I've said it in the past, you cannot say the visuals are bad when it comes to characters.
Dude, his Gotham looks like straight out of the comic books.
That's the best Gotham has ever looked. Period.
Yeah,
like without a doubt, because it's fake. That's what makes it so good, because it
yeah.
looks fake, but
Right.
like it works because it's a comic book world. So, you know,
Yeah,
I really like that, but that's like a rant. I apologize, but
no,
even
it's fair.
But the thing is, I would want to see what he does with the character. I love the role he played in the deleted scene where he's like a Hannibal Lecter. He's not the main villain. Don't make him the main villain. Make him like the main villain in like Batman 5 or something if they go that far. Just don't make him the villain in the second or third movie. Like, in terms of what Matt Reeves has planned, don't make him a villain in those. I love the Hannibal Lecter thing. I like it where Batman's like, I need to get into the head of a killer. This guy's insane. I need his help. That's perfect for what this interpretation is for. I love that. That was good. Stick with that. Like, I love the Joker, but they need to calm down. Like, I will say one of the few good things about Cape Crusader is that they didn't use Joker immediately. However, it doesn't make sense that they used Harley, but that's beside the point. That's like one of the few good things of that is like they didn't use Joker. So with that here, using Joker as like a Hannibal Lecter type is like the best move they could have done. So I hope Matt Reeves doubles down and continues that instead of making him a main villain. I really liked that.
No, I like it. I like the idea, like you said, like the character sort of just hangs out in the background. And again, it's further fleshing out the layered nature of the rogues gallery in this world of the Batman, right? Because we, even in the Nolan trilogy, we had, you know, the mobs, the different mobsters, kind of, you know, Maroni and Falcone and all those characters. And then we would have like Scarecrow, right? Like by the time we got to the Dark Knight, Scarecrow was sort of just involved in the mob dealings and then wasn't really a big character, but then he's still hanging about in the Dark Knight Rises, you know, adjudicating
as the judge or whatever.
The judge and like the sham courthouse. Like, so we got a little bit of that, but like I feel like in this world, even though it's more grounded, it's so noir that these characters feel more fantastical than I think the Nolan universe was very, very real. Like they tried to go for as much real as much possible. Whereas here, like this Joker has green hair. I mean, yes, Heath Ledger's Joker also had like, you know, funky hair and everything, but he stood out firmly from like a lot of the other villains from that universe. And whereas here, like the Joker feel like the Penguin, they feel like these characters who you can run into in real life, but at the same time, they feel just fantastical enough. You wouldn't want to. No, you would not want to. Certainly not the Penguin. And you know, this Joker would definitely put the heebie-jeebies on whoever, you know, gets close. And then of course, you know, the Riddler is on a different level. But as we continue the show, by the way, I did want to mention we were trying to do a new format today because the other day I was watching and Lenny was complaining about structure in the show, John. So what I wanted to do was try something because you know, like I watch other YouTube shows where they you know, interact with a live audience and stuff, and I was like, you know what, like maybe we'll try something a little different. So today what we're doing is we're going through the topics that we have to get through, and then we're taking in, you know, any of your super chats and stuff, and then we're gonna bring them in at the end, and we can, you know, answer your questions and get into. Of course, we're in the chat with you guys. But that way we can kind of like, you know, sort of organize the conversation a little bit more, so that way we're not here for like, you know, 5 hours, but we're also still at the same time getting to your comments and all your questions and fan theories. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of fan theories going around over the course of the week because we were fan casting Batman, we were fan casting Black Canary, Martian Manhunter. So we have got your comments to get into. But as far as this whole idea, John, just because it's not in the works now, I did want to ask you. So of course James Gunn said, hey, it's not even been discussed. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. Right. Sorry, he literally said the word sorry. And he's like, don't attack Multiverse Nation. They're just one of many places reporting this. And of course, I think the original source for this was the Insider, where the report came from. So just because it's not happening now, do you feel like there's a potential for eventually, like you said, the Joker character is going to hang around for a while in this universe? Do you feel like we'll eventually get a series focus on him, considering that the success that they've had with the Penguin so far, or do you feel like it's not worth going down that way? Do you think the Joker? I mean, because look, the Penguin is the Penguin, right? But do you feel like the
Yes.
Joker is too precious a character to bring to your TV screens? Like, should they just save him only for the movies?
The thing, I would have said I think it could happen before Joker Folie à Deux came out. Then Joker Folie à Deux came out with the reception. I think they want to avoid now Joker spinoffs until they can like kind of distance themselves from that, because that was the last gasp of the last management, like of like pre like DC Studios, like that was the last of like that era of DC slash Warner Brothers. Now, if Zaslav will bring in a new good version of Warner Brothers, highly unlikely, but I have faith in the DC Studios part at least. But I think they would want to distance them. Yes, this is a whole new universe, whole new world, all that. But I think in terms of specifically a Joker spinoff, they would probably want to wait to distance themselves in time from Folie à Deux, but at the same time give us more of this character first to really be like, okay, now let's do a spinoff. I think if there were to be a spinoff of this version of the Joker, I would say it would probably come after Batman 3. If it were to ever happen, that's the most likely scenario, in my opinion. Obviously, you can disagree, but that's what I think in terms of both the failure of Folie à Deux and we don't know this version of the character that much. So I think they would want to distance as much as they can.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point that like the character needs to cool off a little bit, right? Like because they've done so much with the Joker. Because we have had we talk about, okay, we have had like 50 different Batman in the last 20 years, but we have also had like 50 different Jokers. Because even the Gotham series on Fox that aired for a few seasons, that series sort of became focused around one of an iteration of the Joker. Was it Cameron Monaghan was the name of the actor, right?
Yes.
Like for a lot of people, like that's a very iconic version of the character, even though it didn't have as big of an audience. Like people really wanted to see, I mean, him potentially moving into the cinematic universe. Of course, we've had Jared Leto, we have had Joaquin Phoenix, who won an Oscar for his performance nonetheless. We now have a Barry Keoghan Joker that exists in this Batman universe. We are eventually gonna get a Joker in the DCU. I'm sure they cannot not have it in, but probably gonna be a while till we get to him. Of course, the Heath Ledger Joker is still 2008 doesn't feel like it was in the recent past, but the Dark Knight is still very much in the cultural psyche, so you still count his performance, and there's just been so many iterations. I mean, right there, I just probably counted enough to be like at least fill up all 5 fingers on my one hand, and or maybe like even more than that. So there's just been so many iterations, and it feels like maybe yes, they need to kind of let it simmer. Like you said, the idea of like the Hannibal Lecter sort of a situation where maybe in the Batman 2 we do get a scene in the movie itself rather than it just being a deleted scene where Batman goes and sort of consults the Joker, and then maybe that's how we get back to the Riddler being a part of the picture, like because of course the Riddler is also in Arkham. So
I think a little tidbit here, because I've commented on this in the past, just like a little bit of a side thing.
Yeah,
I've commented on this in the past. Like I don't think that the Riddler was properly the character, I don't think, in the first movie. Like they didn't get the core of that character right. It would be really interesting if he like kind of stews in Arkham and then he like really becomes the character, because the whole basis of the Riddler is that he doesn't want to be on equal footing as Batman. That's just not the character. He wants to be better than Batman. He wants to be he wants to best him. He wants to be fucking 10 steps ahead and prove that the Dark Knight isn't the world's greatest detective. That's the basis of the Riddler. I didn't find that in the first movie at all. That was,
I mean, he was more like inspired by the Batman, right? Like he's like, oh, you and I are a team. We're doing this together. And
I mean, it was an interesting way of doing the Riddler, but I just don't agree that is the character. I understand this is an Elseworld story, adaptation, all that, but as I've said with the reviews, I feel like they understand, even though they changed so much about the Penguin, they still got the core of that character right. The Riddler, it just felt like the Zodiac killer inspired by Batman. It's like it's fine, and I like aspects of it, but like I have to like divorce myself that it's the Riddler to enjoy that iteration, because I love the saw trap stuff. Like I feel like in like realistic Batman, that fits the Riddler. I just wish they fit the core better. But it would be really awesome, like in Arkham, he realizes while he's stuck in there, maybe through Joker, maybe through his own means, that he's not the team of with him and Batman. He's not equal. He realizes, no, he put me in here. I got caught because I'm better than him. And then he becomes that character we all know and love, which too little, too late. But I just kind of hope for that if they do bring Riddler back into the fold. I don't know if they will.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but I hope that that's the case.
Right. I mean, because it's that thing. Like, it would be kind of classic in a way, sort of like in what was the one? Was it the Batman Forever? Was the one where we had the Riddler and Two-Face together?
Yeah.
Sort of. And then I do remember that Christopher Nolan had plans for either toward the end of The Dark Knight or maybe in The Dark Knight Rises to have, Harvey Dent's Two-Face, and then of course Heath Ledger's Joker. So like Aaron Eckhart and Heath Ledger's characters together, kind of running about a little bit more than they actually ended up doing because Heath Ledger's, because of Heath Ledger's unfortunate passing.
Mm-hmm.
So even Nolan had some plans for sort of like these kind of like a two villain dynamic where Batman is, because this is the other thing, right? Like in general in superhero movies, we don't really see very often multiple villains outside of like a big team up movie whereas in most, even whether it's Marvel or DC movies, it's like one villain per movie and that's the big bad guy of that film. Like even in the Batman, you of course had the Riddler. I mean, yes, you had the Falcones be the villain at the end that gets taken down, but ultimately it's the Riddler that's driving the movie's plot. So it would be interesting to see if they were to pair up the Joker. Like, I'm not, like you said, this could be the Batman 4, Batman 5. Like they go through a bunch of other
if they
stuff.
Go
of course,
that far.
Right, exactly. I mean, right now they're focusing on Hush, right? I think that's the hunch
Allegedly.
that everybody has, that's kind of because Bat Reeves is even teased like the first movie has all the makings of what the second movie's villain is going to be. And of course, Hush was one of the things that came up in that whole montage where the Riddler talks about the history of the Waynes and the Arkhams and all that stuff. So we could eventually get to it, but I would love to see potentially like a movie where the Riddler and the Joker are like the two antagonistic forces. So we have more than one villain in a Batman movie, and it would have been at that point certainly 30 years since we had that dynamic from back to when Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones were running around.
I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
I do miss, because it's interesting because it gives your hero, like your super, whether it's Batman or whoever, a little more to contend with, right? Like there's rather than just focusing on one villain, you have to fight multiple forces. It sort of adds a bit of I know it doesn't always work out because of course we have had Spider-Man 3, so there's this, you have to balance it out, but it's just we don't see that very often. I don't know. Am I missing any examples recently where we've had a solo movie like a Spider-Man movie even, or like a Batman, or where we had more than one villain? Like of course we had Zod and Man of Steel. Like it's
No Way Home.
But you also had 3 Spider-Men, so like I feel like that's like that becomes like a team up movie at that point, right? Like it's not really a solo film. I know it's marketed, and of course they had Doctor Strange in there too, so that's a bit of I don't know if that counts. Like, does it count? I don't know if that counts. I mean, you guys can let us know in the chat if you think there's been another.
Can't think of one.
Like it's. I just feel like movie studios play it so safe. It would be nice for a filmmaker like Matt Reeves to be given, who's got the authority to kind of do something like this. Like, let's go in and Temple saying Hush is lame as F. Don't do it. Well, I'm just saying. Well, at least a Court of Owls. Like it seems like that's the direction they're going in, and maybe the Hush character comes in as a result of that or not. But no, I mean the point persists, right? Like it would be interesting to see if Barry Keoghan's Joker just ends up being like the Hannibal Lecter character throughout like the first 3 movies, and then like in the 4th Batman movie, you finally get to see him. Kind of maybe he escapes prison or something, and him and another villain, or maybe 2 villains. So Batman is like truly. Remember when the first Batman was coming out, that we were like, it's gonna be the long Halloween, like and Batman's fighting all of these different villains, and then we ultimately didn't quite get that. We got influences from the comic, especially with how the movie kind of starts off and the noir aesthetic and the voiceover, but. It would be interesting to see if they kind of went in that direction where the Batman has to fight off all these villains. Of course, we've got a new Arkham video game coming out, so maybe in the Arkham, well, or at least being developed. You guys you talked about it earlier this week, right, John? So there's potentially some inspiration to be had from that game, because I'm sure they'll have multiple villains there. But yeah, I mean, do you think this series of movies is gonna make it far enough, like to a Batman 4 or 5? Like it's because Robert Pattinson ain't getting younger, and they're taking like their time between each movie. Um, but then again, I mean, it's not like Robert Pattinson looks particularly old. Like I don't know. Do you think they're gonna get to like a Batman 5, or do you think they're gonna end up using Barry Keoghan's Joker up a little bit sooner, or maybe we do get a TV series? It's just it's not official now, but like maybe eventually it does become a thing.
Yeah. As I said, I think maybe eventually. Just not right now, and obviously these rumors are kind of BS. So yeah, I think eventually, just not in the next couple of years. And I know somebody mentioned, oh, maybe James Gunn doesn't know about it, but like Matt Reeves has it planned. But it's like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That seems like jumping the gun, no pun intended, a bit. In regards to like Joker series in between 2 and 3, it's like we've got like one scene of this guy, one canonical scene of this guy. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's still too early, because I mean, somebody could say, well, the Penguin had a very small role, but I mean, but the Penguin was still a part of the movie, right? Like we got enough of the Penguin that people were like, we want to see more. And I think the fact that we got a whole Penguin TV series probably means that he's not going to be the main villain of the second movie. He's going to be one of the forces, antagonistic forces acting on the city of Gotham, but I don't think the Penguin is going to end up being like the big bad guy of the second film, because why give him an 8-episode series and then also have him, like, at that point people are going to be like, all right, I'm Penguined out. Like I think it would make more sense for the Penguin to have a featured role but not be the ultimate, antagonist of the second film. And as much as Temple doesn't want to see Hush, I mean, Court of Owls was definitely teased in the first movie, so maybe that's the direction they're going in. But as far as what happens after that, I mean, they could continue with another Penguin season. They've not ruled it out completely. They sort of left the door open. Lauren LaFranc at CC New York Comic Con, but it's as of right now, James Gunn says there is absolutely no truth to the idea of a Joker series in the works. It's not being discussed, nor has it even come up at this time. Sorry. So there you have it. But with that said, John, we do have some other news to discuss too. So let's keep going here. And then, of course, we have your comments, guys. We picked out some comments from recent episodes, so we're gonna get into that. But let's just marvel at Aaron Pierre for a second. His final set, the 335 pounds right there that he's squatting, man. He's not skipping leg day.
He fucking needs to, because he was already built for Rebel Ridge, but like, go for it, man.
Well, but you gotta keep up with it, It's like it's a use it or lose it. Like
damn. And he's got no fucking support. He's fucking only in his socks. God damn. Unless he's wearing white shoes. No, it's
just socks. It's just
goddamn.
It's just socks.
That's like hard floor too. Like Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the guy clearly goes hard in the gym, and I mean, yeah, if you've seen Rebel Ridge, then you know that he does action well.
Hopefully, going to be seeing that. So. Like I'm catching up on all my 2024 movies, so hopefully I'll be seeing that soon. I got a lot of. I got like at least a dozen to catch up on. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, hey, Lanterns is set to start filming next year, so I mean, I'm sure that's his next big thing, right? Like, I mean, how many more projects does he have lined up? I'm sure he has a few other things, but I don't believe there's much else that he could be preparing for right now. Certainly being in the gym doing this. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. I did see a rumor, by the way, recently that the Fantastic Four First Steps trailer is ready. And then, of course, we know that James Gunn's been working away at the
They've been filming
trailer for
like
Superman.
4 months. Not even.
Well,
like,
but that's the Marvel machine. I mean, again, it's a rumor, but the reason I brought it up is because, of course, we now have confirmation that Warner Brothers is going to CCXP 24. And of course, it's not just like these images and just DC Film News talking about it. This is from actually the CCXP's official Twitter account and X account and all their socials. They posted about it. They mentioned that of course we're gonna have Warner Brothers Discovery there, which is like the big parent company. Warner Brothers Pictures, which they're the ones who put out Joker Fall You Do. Of course, Max. Peacemaker is a Max series. It's considered a Max original. And we also have Warner Brothers games. Of course, we know that there's a new Hogwarts game coming out soon. Speaking of which, also there's that new baking show from the Harry Potter franchise that's set to come out next week, I believe, on Max in the US and on Amazon Prime in the UK. I'm looking forward to watching that. Yeah, I saw a trailer. It's like, what were the two twins? The Ron's brothers, like it was Fred and
George, yeah.
Fred and George are on this. I'm like, it looks fun. It's like if you're like a fan of the Great British Bake Off, then this is like that, but with Harry Potter themes. So I'm excited for that. But anyway, I bring up Warner Brothers games because earlier this week we were talking about how David Zaslav wants to keep going with more Batman, DC Batman games, including probably maybe another Arkham series of games. So that's going to be interesting to see if they have any announcements. Now, of course, none of these 4 companies include DC Studios. I mean, but Max has DC projects. I don't believe Warner Brothers Pictures has any more active DC projects under their belt anymore. But of course, there is a pretty high chance that as a result of such an extensive presence from Warner Brothers that we may get a DC panel there as well. And of course, knowing that they potentially are already prepping a trailer for Fantastic Four, which has only been filming for a few months, like you said, and whereas Superman has been done filming now for literally the day Superman finished filming is the day that Fantastic Four started. But we know that James Gunn is working on a trailer. Do you think that when it comes to CCXP, we're gonna get something from James Gunn for Superman? Are we gonna get like a teaser trailer? Are we gonna get like one of those, David Cornsweet walks into the frame with his, Superman suit on, like with what we got with the Batman, that suit reveal initially with like the chest symbol for the first time, and like a little bit of the soundtrack. Do you think we're gonna get something like that, or do you think we're gonna get maybe a more extensive trailer that sort of gives us, it kind of vets our appetite for what this movie is going to be?
I think we're going to be getting like an announcement trailer, nothing crazy, but I could see like a teaser because the way trailers are, how I have them like in my head, like in terms of the earliest trailer is like an announcement trailer, which is like 20 to 30 seconds, which like gives us a shot of something that's probably not even in the movie. Like specifically they make a trailer just to have a trailer, and then a teaser trailer is usually like minute, maybe 2 minutes. I would say like 45 seconds to 90 seconds, and then trailer is like at least 90 seconds to 2.5 minutes, and then a final trailer is usually like 2.5 plus. So I can imagine that they would only do like an announcement trailer at CCXP. I could see that. Like maybe like a quick 30-second, maybe 45-second like teaser.
Like we get maybe like a little bit of the music, like the pa 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 pa, like like
the music, maybe a shot of like a proper shot of the suit.
Right, exactly.
And
in motion, because we haven't really seen that. Like we've seen behind the scenes stuff, but we haven't really seen an official look at the suit in motion, Like I think that'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, Ron saying the Superman trailer will only be a teaser. Buster Barnes saying we're gonna get a teaser trailer and a poster. So I mean, yeah, that'd be interesting to see if that's. Yeah. By the way, guys, hit the like button in the chat. Like, if it really helps us out on the YouTubes. Uh, but thanks for stopping by. Of course, we are gonna get into your comments later in the show. As before we finish up, we've got some comments from past videos, any super chats that come in on the show today, any questions that you guys have, any fan theories. But I mean, as far as the trailer for Superman goes, I genuinely hope that if they do show up at CCXP and James Gunn is there himself, or I mean, because I think the only way we're gonna get a trailer is if James Gunn is showing up there, and he's currently working on the trailer for this movie. He's of course still working on editing the movie. He's also still filming Peacemaker almost. So I mean, the guy is busy. So is he gonna fly out to Rio de Janeiro to Brazil for? I mean, it's one thing to kind of go to New York City for a day, in which he was filming Peacemaker, went to the Comic-Con, then went back and continued filming. I wonder if he's gonna have enough time, or if he wants to even show up, because I don't know if they're gonna put out the trailer if he's not there himself, right? But if David Cornsweet shows up, if we get Rachel Brosnahan, if we get like Nicholas Hoult, and we get like a bit of a panel, that'd be interesting, because CCXP as a con has been growing over the last few years. Like we are starting to see some more and more of those like bigger announcements happen there. Like even Marvel tries to make an effort to like put out some stuff that is exclusive to that panel, or to that Comic-Con. So I wonder if this is going to be the beginning of DC trying to like make their mark at CCXP, because they've certainly done a pretty good job. Because we've had Liz on the show this week. Liz was at New York Comic Con, and she kept mentioning that everybody was talking about Creature Commandos. It was like the talk of the town. So like DC definitely left their mark at New York Comic Con. I know New York Comic Con isn't like San Diego Comic Con, but the fact that they were there and they made their mark, and that they had that whole walkthrough experience you can go to, they had the panel, they really made sure that everybody knew that Creature Commandos was coming out soon, and it was going to be a big deal for the DCU. So I wonder if we're going to get something similar for that at CCXP, like if it's going to be Superman related. So I'm excited for that. I mean, I know you guys in the chat are excited for it, whether we get a trailer, a poster, both. Maybe we get David Cornsweet there, because he's mentioned that he might be showing up to CCXP, so that'd be interesting, because I want to hear from him. Like we don't often hear from him directly talking about the character of Superman, but I'm sure that's because they're saving it for the summer of Superman, the marketing campaign we're gonna get. But John, we do have this one other topic we want to get into before we get into you guys' comments. The Penguin is set to air its season finale or series finale in a couple of days' time. Today's Friday, so like it's a good time to look at these numbers, because in a couple of days the series will be done. It will have aired its 8th episode. The finale will be on our screens. You can watch it on Max. You can watch it on HBO. If you are living abroad outside of the United States, there may be another streaming service you can find it on. But John, as far as where it ranks in the streaming world, it's according to Samba, which the Samba TV has like their technology sort of built into most smart TVs today. So like you might be able to kind of turn it. There's a setting on your TV you most likely have come across where you can turn it on, so it kind of measures what you're watching. It's sort of like the Nielsen ratings, except a little. It's more tied into smart TVs, so that's how they measure what you're watching. And according to them, the Penguin continues to be, for 7 consecutive weeks now, basically every week that has been airing new episodes, the number 1 show on streaming. And that just continues to show. I mean, it's just fantastic to see that a DC program is doing that, because it's not like they have a lack of competition. You look at some of the other stuff. Tulsa King, a fantastic show on Paramount Plus, is up there. You've got The Lincoln Lawyer, which has got quite the audience in since its 3rd season. The Diplomat just wrapped its 2nd season, and I've been getting some information for that. I mean, that's a great series with Kerry Russell and then Rufus Sewell. So you've got some competition. Of course, Martha is in there. Martha is still hanging around the DC world. That show has nothing to do with Batman versus Superman, but Martha hanging out there. Love is Blind, of course, is also on there. Only Murders in the Building. That show is just the newest season. I mean, it just keeps getting better. But at the very top of the list, it's a Penguin.
Yeah.
It just
my parents disagree. Like,
really?
They said, oh yeah, the first season was really good, and then they're like every other season has been sucking, and now it's just terrible. And I'm like, all right, okay then, ouch.
I mean, but like you look at the number. I mean, it's great. It's just, to me, it's just good to see that the Penguin. I mean, they say season 1 I don't know if this is just season one. I mean, don't take any. This doesn't imply that there's going to be multiple seasons of the Penguin, but according to Samba TV, it's 7 weeks in a row. This show, ever since it started airing, has been number one on streaming. And also, we have been noted. We cover it every week, seemingly. Some news story about how the Penguin is literally increasing its ratings each and every week. Like, they keep improving. I'm like, they're still on an upward trajectory, and we know that the last episode is going to be like well over an hour. So you can kind of sit in, grab a drink, have some snacks ready, and you're gonna be sitting there watching so many threads that they have to tie together. But John, what are you looking forward to the most with the season finale or the series finale of the Penguin, which continues to be the top series in streaming, for the entirety of its run. It's been the top series in streaming now for basically 2 months.
I don't know what to expect or predict because I really don't know what the show, because like every time I like predict something, oh yeah, that's definitely gonna happen. Nope, fuck you, left turn. And it just goes completely off the rails, and it just keeps doing new things that I don't expect. Like rarely have I called something in a show. Like it's always like, nope, it's this way, nope, it's this way, nope, it's this way. And it's just like I can't even guess at this point. Like I was like, yeah, by the first episode, I was like, oh yeah, Victor and his mom are definitely dying by the end of this. Now I'm like, I don't even fucking know anymore. Like, I don't think that's even the case anymore. So we'll see. I mean, there is the only thing I can predict is that the Penguin will live. Only because he's gonna show up in the Batman Part 2. That's the only thing I could say for sure at this point, because that was already confirmed. So that's all I got. Like I can't predict anything, but I want to see some, I want to see like more of a small scale, and that's what it seemed like it promised. Like I don't think they're gonna go full on war with it. Like
Yeah.
the fucking gigantes versus the penguin, all this. I think it'll be a very private, like small scale, like penguin versus Sophia and other people that get caught in the crossfire type of thing. I think that's how it's gonna go, and I think that's how I would want it to go. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. As I said, I don't know, but like I think that would be a really good way to do that, because it's this show hasn't been like so big and crazy, with maybe the exception of the car bomb from last episode. But I do believe that they'll probably stick with like a small scale, like very personal mano y mano, like between the two
Yeah.
of them, and that's very nice to see.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be interesting, because my question to you would be, if the Penguin is going to survive, do you think Sophia is also going to survive, like the end of this
I want
series?
to, because I like her character a lot, like in a she's an evil sort of way, but like she's I don't know, I just like Kristen Miliotti's just been like, you know, just been killing it, and I
It's
want her to stay,
she's
like keep going.
Yeah. I definitely think she's gonna get all the awards nominations, and she's probably gonna win a few trophies, because whether it's the Golden Globes or the next set of Emmys, it's, oh god, like it's between her and Colin Farrell, and even Deirdre O'Connell playing the mom of the Penguin's mom. Ah, God, like these actors have just sort of immersed themselves into their roles to the point where even Wick, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, I don't see it's Renzi Feliz. I'm like, that's Victor Aguilar. Like, it's they're doing a fantastic job, and it just continues to the show just continues to evolve in ways that are so unexpected. Um, I personally want to say that all of these core characters will survive. We're gonna get some twists and turns, but I just want to say I want more of these characters, man. I'm sure when they were working on the show, they were like, oh my god, this looks like magic, and it just because you could see when you could feel it as an actor, as a producer, as a director, somebody that when you have something good on your hands, right? And I'm sure they could tell that between the characters of the Penguin, Sophia's story as it evolves, they've got something in this show that probably deserves to be around for more than just 8 episodes. I know that they have ruthlessly killed off a few characters. I mean, the entire Falcone family and pretty much all of the Maronis. But I also feel like they were like those characters had been used so much in the past that maybe it's okay to kind of like knock those guys over over the course of the show so that they can kind of chart some new ground. But Sophia's character and how she ties into the whole story, and of course you got the Penguin himself. I really hope they stick around because I want to see these characters interact with the Batman. Speaking of which, we do have to kind of ask the question: are we gonna get the Batman at least mentioned or like name dropped at some point in the finale? Do you think that's gonna happen? Because we know we're not gonna get the Batman in the show, but do you feel like this is gonna now start to form a more direct connection to the second movie because it's meant to leave us
I think
right
maybe
where the
like an
second movie
Easter egg
begins?
or a reference here and there, nothing crazy. Because I think Matt Reeves and Lauren LaFranc really want to keep this separate from the Batman and really like make its own world of the underbelly of Gotham and all that. So I think they're gonna, I think they're gonna keep it pretty separate outside of like a teaser or reference, maybe a post-credit scene. But that's about it. I don't think they're gonna do anything crazy that's gonna be like, oh yeah, most definitely Batman or Bruce Wayne is gonna show up. So yeah, the most is gonna be like, okay, oh man, it's really freezing out here, or man, I fear this is gonna get worse before it gets better, or I think you need to hush a little bit, or like just like something like that. Maybe not as corny, but like something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're definitely getting into the Batman and Robin territory with those puns, but it's okay. It's okay. You know what? We're like,
Hey, they
excited
had
for
hush. They had
I
hush in fucking the Batman, so don't give me that. They had
okay.
hush in big letters.
They did. They did. I mean, it was part of the whole montage, which I think that's what they're gonna try to pay off first in the Batman 2. But these characters are definitely gonna be, hanging around, and it's just gonna create for a city that feels much more alive and more weight because you have so many of these characters they can relate to.
Mhm.
It's like they're truly creating a universe around just Gotham itself, right? Even Gotham as a city is sort of a character unto itself in this series and in the movie in a way that we have never seen before. So I'm excited to see how the show ends. You guys let us know in the chat, in the comments, what you think. Who's gonna die? Who's gonna survive? I wouldn't put it past him to actually kill off the Penguin, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. But it could be a tragic story. But then again, he's not quite become the Kingpin yet, so you can't really kill him off until that happens because you gotta have finish his rise before you get to see his fall. But who knows? I mean, they did do a time jump, so we know now that we're in the winter. The winter is coming. Winter has arrived, and the Batman 2 is going to take place in the winter season. So let's see how that works out. But John, we do have some comments to get into. So as we promised earlier, any super chats we get into for today's show, any comments from recent videos that we have, we want to answer your questions, your fan theories. So let's get into that, John. The first one is this is from we were fan casting like I believe Black Canary the other day, and in that video somebody commented, Derpy left us a comment saying Emily Rudd for the DCU Batgirl. Who is Emily Rudd, and what do you think about her fit for the character of Batgirl? I mean, we know we're gonna get the whole Bat family, so are we gonna get Batgirl as well? And then would Emily Rudd be a good pick?
I've actually seen her. I didn't realize I did, but I've seen her in the Fear Street movies. She was Cindy Berman, and I don't really remember her there, but I remember those movies being pretty good. So I think she could do a good job. I don't really remember her all that well, so I would love to, you know, I gotta look up Cindy Berman because I feel now it's starting to become clear. So yeah, Cindy Berman, she was kind of like this more like quiet, reserved girl, which like kind of works for Barbara Gordon a little bit, like as at least her civilian identity. I don't know how she'll do as, like Batgirl, but I'm sure she could do a good job. I haven't seen the One Piece show. I've heard mixed things. Some people said it's like, oh, it's actually pretty decent. Other people saying like, oh, it's there. Um, not as good as the obviously the anime. But yeah, I think Emily Rudd could be good. I don't know if Derpy is watching right now. Nobody really saying that, but yeah. Emily Rudd for DCU Batgirl. It's an interesting pick. We might revisit the Bat family. I know we did that a while back, so we might revisit that. Then next up for the next comment, we have who else do we have? Yeah. So Magical Sky Wizard, I always thought Wes Bentley would make a great Batman, but he might be too old. That is true. I think he's in his 50s at this point, and I think that might be too old for who they're going for. But I think he would be great. He's 46, my bad, but he's kind of showing his gray, a little bit showing his age. I think he might be a little bit too old. Sure, they could maybe make him look a little. He looks okay for his age. Like he doesn't look 46. Like maybe you dye his hair a little bit, he can, trim it a bit and he could probably do good. But yeah, I think Wes Bentley might be a tad too old for who they want, but I think he could work. I think he could be I think he could be a lot of he has the acting prowess. He definitely has like the charisma there. He has like kind of the brutish nature in some of his roles. I don't know if he would be the perfect Batman, but I could definitely see it. I think Wes Bentley would do a good job. But again, as you said, he's probably too old. I think they're going to go for, as somebody said, they're probably going to go for late 30s, early 40s. So, but in terms of the next comment we have, somebody was being a little troll boy, and I'm like, I'm going to put him on blast because that's what we love to do here. He was like, just because you hate Tom King, a lot of people like he is writing, stop being the stereotypical neckbeard just cause look like one. LOL. Yeah, you look like you either didn't pass English or English is your second. Actually, no, I've seen some like native foreign speakers that speak English better than you do, buddy. So apparently hating something makes me a stereotypical neckbeard. Then I hate to break it to you, everybody on planet Earth is a stereotypical neckbeard by that case. But yeah, I have said I got to keep reiterating this because people keep misinterpreting my words. I hate Tom King's DC writing. I understand when I go on rants, I just say I hate Tom King. I don't hate Tom King totally. The Marvel stuff I've read from him, good. The Visions, good stuff. From what I've read of his DC stuff, which was 3 things, which I tried to read his Batman run, and it was really bad. I read Heroes in Crisis all the way through, and it sucked. And then Mr. Miracle was okay. The art was really good, but I felt that I didn't like what they did for that story. It's just I want, and somebody did say that there is a difference between comic writing and writing for a show, and that's true. But we do have a guy who already failed at writing a TV show with Damon Lindelof, so that definitely doesn't, add any favors either. But, I just would like to reiterate that because I feel like people keep misinterpreting my words. So I would say I have disliked 66% of what he has done in terms of DC. And I will definitely be reading Woman of Tomorrow soon. But there could be surprises. I know I'm gonna read everything Tom King, and then if I hate it all, I can then say he's the worst thing ever. But no, kidding aside, it just Just because I hate somebody doesn't make me, a neckbeard. Like, ugh, I hate fucking. I don't want to hate it. Like, bro, I've been like jerking off the new Superman movie for the past fucking 6 months. I don't know what you're talking about. I've loving the Penguin. I'm excited for Creature Commandos. I'm like reasonably okay about Supergirl. I'm excited for the Batman Part 2. I'm excited for Booster Gold and Waller and Paradise Lost and Swamp Thing and Brave and the Bold, all that. I'm pretty excited for all of it. Just like Lanterns, I feel the rumor confirming the rumors is off, and I just don't like the stuff, the Tom King stuff that I have read. And maybe that makes me an asshole, maybe that makes me an idiot. I don't know. But if you don't like it, I'm not gonna stop because one, it's my opinion and it's our show, so I could say whatever the hell I damn well please. And so, I'll maybe try to curb it as more. I've been trying to curb it more, but like it's just, it's just he's a writer,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a lot of other better writers that could be writing. Jeff Johns has been working in TV for fucking years, and and he's the fucking Green Lantern guy, and you don't think to bring him on. That like, I mean, I know Jeff Johns has been problematic in the past, but like
that's what I was gonna say. Right.
Like, I remember when I was doing fan casting of my own DCEU, I was like, what would be perfect for a Green Lantern show? Fucking get Jeff Johns for the Green Lantern part, and then for the Sci-Fi parts, get Ronald D. Moore. That dude knows Sci-Fi. He knows how to do it right. So imagine Ronald D. Moore making a fucking Green Lantern show. That would be fucking awesome.
I mean, he's gonna be working on the God of War series, and he's still got For All Mankind. So
yeah, I did see that about God of War.
Tied up.
Now I'm probably gonna go watch God of War. Now I have never played a single game, although I do look like Kratos, according to many people. Now I gotta watch. I'm good. I have For All Mankind on the list. Don't worry. I gotta catch up on all my movies. Maybe during the Christmas season when I take a break from my videos on my channel and all that, I will finally sit down and fucking watch the damn thing. So we can hope for that. Anyway, because I like him. I love Outlander. Well, I did at one point. The later seasons aren't that great, but he did a good job with that. So I like what he's done with that, and maybe I'll even go back and watch Battlestar.
Dude, Battlestar Galactica is probably one of the best sci-fi shows or shows ever made, period. The one that Ronald D. Moore did in the 2000s. But we gotta move on. We have more comments to get into, guys. So
sorry.
This is one from Jake Hells, because Jake Hells was bringing up about how hey, this is from the Denzel Washington episode where we were talking about him as Martian Manhunter. Or rather, I tried to suggest, because that was my pick, but obviously I wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't on the show. And John and Liz really sort of like jibbed the whole part of the conversation because you guys sort of just skipped.
Sorry,
just skipped over Denzel, and like Jake Hells was like, dude, it's like you can't just clickbait us into the video and then not talk about Denzel.
The thing is, I had my own list of people, and I was kind of focusing on that. But you should have reiterated, like, hey, fucking dude. I'm like, I'm sorry. Next time, okay. We love Denzel. We love Martian Manhunter. So it should have warranted a better conversation. I apologize. I already apologized in the comments. Dan and I, or maybe Bridget and I, Angelina and I, whoever, all three of us, four, whatever, we will warrant a better conversation for Martian Manhunter in the future, because Martian Manhunter is, as you said, a great character. He's such a cult favorite. I mean, Carl Lumbly was excellent in the original, Justice League show. Denzel could do a good job. I think he's a little bit too old. I mean, he's in great shape, don't get me wrong, but he is very picky, choosy about his roles now. He even said that.
But that would make it so much more special, right?
I know.
Because if he just says, you know what, I'm gonna play Martian Manhunter, I'm gonna be John Jones, it's immediately gonna add like a stamp of like legitimacy to the DCU,
the dream. And don't let your dreams be dreams. But I'm just trying to be realistic a little bit, because but hey, they have Kyle Chandler, who's 59, as Hal Jordan. So we'll obviously see. Maybe it's like fuck everything with, and he is a shapeshifter. So they're like, if he gets too old or he eventually, passes on, which is a sad thing to say, but like it's inevitable for everybody. They could just be like, oh, I had to change my main form because of blah blah blah, and they make him a younger actor. Like they could do that easily, or even not even explain it. It's just like he's a different guy now. Yeah, that's it. Boom.
I'm just, dude, it's one of those things where you're gonna be watching the movie and you'll be like, okay, that's Denzel Washington, like that's Denzel, like it's, but at the same time, he's Martian Manhunter. I can buy it. I'm just saying, of all the A-listers, I know Buster Barnes is like, dude, your fan casts are not it. I mean, look, Emma Darcy as Wonder Woman could work, but and I know that those aren't maybe the favorite picks, because I think when you suggested the idea of Mahershala Ali as potentially Martian Manhunter, I was like, you know what, that seems like a really really perfect pick. I agreed with you guys there, but for me, like Denzel Washington could do it. Like, and of course he is the GOAT, so like why not? And if Marshall Ali is apparently he's going to be voicing Blade in like the Marvel Zombies animated series, so he's still attached to that character. So I don't know, his schedule might still be pretty filled up. Doesn't mean he can't be in DC, but I mean, look, Denzel, he's in that new Gladiator movie, and
I'm just saying, we'll treat you better than the shit fucks down the street. I'm just saying.
I could totally buy, but like, dude, Denzel Washington would add such prestige to the new universe. Like, he pops in and he's your Martian Manhunter, especially because Martian Manhunter has always been portrayed as like this leader character, you know, and especially if this Justice League already exists in this new universe. Bringing in somebody like a Denzel would just immediately add all kinds of just legitimacy, prestige, and just the name value. I mean, I know that we don't really go to the movies because of the stars in the movies anymore, but there's certain names that you still, you know, turn your head for. Like, oh, Tom Cruise has a new movie coming out. Denzel Washington's he's in the new Gladiator. I bet you there'll be a lot of people going to the new Gladiator movie, the second one, because it's got Denzel in the movie. He's one of like the big names. So he's one of those stars today that still has that drawing power. So I would love to see him potentially featured in the DCU, right? Like, I mean, he hasn't done anything comic book related yet. So there's room for him to come in. But John, there is another comment here that you wanted to feature. This one is about Nicholas Hoult. So this is a three-parter
one, but
so miraculous. Go right ahead.
So I mentioned Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor because we were talking about, like, he mentioned something in an interview about playing the character Honor. James Gunn is a great vision, voice, blah blah blah, all that, you know, typical spiel that he has to give in interviews. Yeah. So I said that, and I guess Liz didn't know that he was cast as Lex Luthor, and she's like, ew, no. And I was like, how do you not know this? And I'm like, I know she's not a DC fan, but like,
yeah, but it's like,
I don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Miraculous was saying, like, Nicholas Hoult is an amazing choice for Lex, who actually shouldn't be that much older than Superman. I kind of agree with that. Because I mean, we've seen so many Lex Luthors over the years that are so much older, which, I mean, works, but like, honestly, this is, you know, I like how it's a couple of years, and they, you know, they could zhuzh him up, make him look a little bit older. He shouldn't be that much older than Superman, and Holt is 4 years older than Cornsweat. And yes, I know we've gotten Lex before, but introducing a proper version now, not Eisenberg playing Lex like he's Zuckerberg playing the Riddler. I don't agree with that, but that's beside the point. One of the few things I liked about PVS means the sooner we could get a Legion of Doom. Plus, there are probably plans to introduce Brainiac, because I did mention Brainiac in that. I'm like, I think that should have been. I still believe. I know you guys disagree. That's fine, but I still believe that Brainiac should have been, because the thing is, Brainiac is such a great villain because he's connected to Superman. And don't get me wrong, he is a good Justice League villain too, but like, there's also other Justice League villains you can do for a Justice League movie. Like, I feel like taking away Brainiac for Superman, when he's like a Superman villain and has been for decades, and making him Justice League when they already have a pantheon of villains you could choose from, I feel like that's a little bit unfair. Although I don't know who said this, but one of the other comments I didn't put here because it was another long one. It might have been Buster Barnes, it might have been Jay Kells, I don't remember. But they did mention Justice League, but they're like a Superman Supergirl team up movie for Brainiac. And now that is a movie I think would be really interesting. Introduce Superman, introduce Supergirl, and then like have a movie called like The Last Kryptonians, and they fight Brainiac. Now that could be a really interesting idea, kind of like the best of both worlds. Like, okay, we're having multiple characters fight Brainiac, but it's staying in the super family. Like,
Right.
oh, and of course, Crypto. We can't forget about Crypto. We love Crypto here. But the three of them fighting Brainiac, and I think that would be really awesome. Whether he's just Superman or the two of them or three of them. But I just feel like making him, because as well as the fact that the two times we've gotten a recent Brainiac has been versus the Justice League, which is, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, which is ew. And then we've gotten, Injustice 2, which isn't a bad game. It's just like, it was one of those cases where it's like the campaign, like nobody gave a fuck about. They just played the fighting stuff. But I feel like Brainiac should be against Superman. It'll because since Brainiac has been done very poorly in recent years, keep him a Superman villain so that they, it distances themselves from the Justice League kind of shit from Injustice 2, which is like a fucking, it brings the whole fucking evil Superman thing, which is I fucking hate, and everybody hates now, and it's stupid, and they need to fucking stop with it. And then kill the Justice League, which was terrible. So, and you had Superman being a complete idiot for no reason. Oh, look, this fucking ship that's shaped like a skull. Yeah. That seems fine, right? It's like, that's not you being like, oh, I'm being morally gray. No, you're just being stupid. But these people don't know how to fucking write comic book characters, so what the fuck? That I shouldn't be surprised. But I do believe that I still believe that Brainiac should have been the villain, or another, or like Metallo or Parasite or fucking Composite Superman, whatever it is. I think any of those could have been a better choice than just doing Lex Luthor again. However, despite this, I think they got a great choice for Lex Luthor, and I'm very intrigued with how he'll play the character. So I'm not too excited about that part, but I'm excited enough to get a mug and to get my shirts, but they're in the wash right now. So I have my mug.
I mean, look, I enjoyed the Brainiac character we got in the Krypton show, and I want to see how we eventually approach Brainiac in the Superman movie. I think we're probably getting Ultraman in this one, so we're a ways off from Brainiac. I don't think we're gonna get Brainiac anytime soon. But whenever we do get him, I mean, I want to see how he plays out. And I personally am intrigued by having him be like a Justice League level of a threat, because it's more just the threat he poses. I know Superman can fight him, but it would be I personally think it would be interesting to see how the rest of the league kind of joins in the fight. But hey, we got more comments. So we did get a super chat earlier. So guys, every time you guys support us with the super chat, of course we appreciate it. And Fiona was graciously welcoming me back. Welcome back, Dan. Thank you, Fiona, for your fantastic super chat. That really helps us out a lot. And of course we appreciate it so much. And it's good to be back. I mean, my voice is still I'm trying to keep up, and there's a bit of a cough, so I apologize if that's been bothering you guys throughout the show.
No, actually, you haven't been coughing that much. From what I've noticed.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? It's good to be back, and it's good to be here. And thank you again, Fiona, for the super chat. We really appreciate you supporting us with that. So the Watcher had a comment earlier as well. Of course, he's been active in the chat. Yeah. He said, "I have something to add to the Joker situation that is quite interesting. I think it's happening and Gunn doesn't know it yet." So, I mean, I know you mentioned this earlier, John, but remind us what this is hinting at. I mean, is this a matter of it's going on, it's happening behind the scenes, and then, Jeff Snyder just got the scoop, but James Gunn just doesn't want it out in the world, so that's why he debunked it? Like, do you think that's what's going on here?
I don't think so. I feel like, again, as I was saying, Gunn doesn't know it yet. I don't think that Matt Reeves would be planning something. Somebody would find out about it, and because if you don't pitch something, guess who you're not telling? Anybody else, because it's inside your own head. Like, the moment you pitch something is when it's become known. So how would, Jeff Snyder, I think, was the one who was talking about this. How the fuck would he or an inside source know if it fucking hadn't been pitched yet? That doesn't make sense to me, unless he's like, hey, guy who I just met today, who looks suspiciously like Jeff Snyder, I'm going to tell you this thing about this Joker project I have. It's like, what? I know the inside source isn't actually Jeff Snyder. I know, I'm just like fucking joking, but like it just doesn't make sense that they would plan a spinoff, even if Joker has a substantial role in Batman Part 2 and they, flesh that out. But it's like, it makes no sense from all logical points of view. Joker Folie à Deux was a fucking huge bomb. So why would they plan another spinoff so soon after? Like, this one fucking was torched and bombed spectacularly.
Well,
and then on top of the fact, this guy barely has gotten any on-screen presence. He was in the last like 2 seconds of the movie and one deleted scene that was deleted for a reason. So why would they plan a whole spinoff based on this guy that's barely been shown? I understand he's the Joker, but this is still an iteration we haven't properly seen yet, and they can't just like go full steam ahead on a character, at least this version we have not seen a lot of. And failed Joker spinoff sequel is there as well. I'm just saying.
No, I mean but I will say the one thing that's potentially in favor of this theory is the idea that basically if they were to do a Joker series, the Batman Part 2 doesn't come out till almost the end of 2026. So the earliest we would get a Joker series would be like maybe 2027. So there's plenty of time between now and then for them to sort of like find a way for this Joker character to work, or I mean that's the only part of it that makes sense to me, that we're so far out from it. But the James Gunn was pretty specific, and he's usually pretty honest with the fans that they haven't even talked about it. Like it's not even a consideration right now. So sorry, but like it may have. I mean, it doesn't mean it can't happen eventually, but it's not a thing right now. But I mean, that's where we are at, and that's fine. I mean, like we said, there's plenty of time.
Can I mention something a little bit more serious? I just got news that Tony Todd has passed away at the age of 69. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. I know this is kind of a dour note, but it's kind of a breaking news sort of thing. So I wanted to quickly mention that, because I mentioned him in my atrocitus fan casting. I guess that can't happen now. Not like that really matters, but yeah, that seems like the case, and that's really depressing. 2024 is really taking away a lot of people from us, but he was a legend. He will forever be a legend, and he was an amazing actor.
I loved him in Platoon.
Amazing, illustrious filmography. I mean, Final Destination, Candyman. I mean, he was Candyman, for fuck's sake, But yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that. I think he deserves it because I love Tony Todd so much. He was such an exemplary actor, and never really properly got the fame he really deserved, I don't think. But he'll be remembered through a lot of people for the roles he did do. So I wanted to mention that real quick. Sorry about the downer note, guys, but I wanted to mention that.
No, but it's thank you for bringing it up. I mean, he's another legend of the industry who left us a little too early. I feel like it's age 69 probably. He had a very prestigious, just a career full of amazing credits. I mean, Platoon sticks out to me as my favorite project that he was a part of. But I mean, Candyman, Final Destination. There's so many films that he's worked on over the years. Hundreds of credits, and from everybody in the chat, everybody here at Oh So Curious and DCU Daily, our hearts and go out to Tony Todd's friends and family. So, but but let's get back to the comments that we have from you guys. So, of course, we were earlier talking about how the aesthetic of Tim Burton's Batman was so iconic that it just felt like it was pulled directly from the comics, and now we're getting the Batman, which seemingly has sort of done a great job again of just giving you that very quintessential comic book iteration, and changed the world, saying Batman didn't make the best Batman, but Burton didn't make the best Batman, but he sure did the best Batman aesthetic ever.
100%. I agree with that.
It's just so good. I mean, the animated series practically borrowed the entire soundtrack and took a lot of the visual cues for like how the Batcave looks, the suit, and it's so iconic even to this day. It's like that 1989 Batman movie just feels quintessentially Batman, especially the Batman that we have come to know. Because of course there's like the campier version of the Adam West Batman that was the most popular iteration until that movie came out in '89. But since then, I mean, and Jack Nicholson, one of the greatest actors of all time, of course, he left his mark as like that live action iteration of Joker that everybody looked back at until Heath Ledger's Joker sort of became the iconic version. But and the Batmobile, even to this day, I look back at that Batmobile and then just, I mean, even in the second movie, like with the Bat Wing and everything, it was. I know they sort of like played around with the origin of the Joker character a little bit, but yeah, God, Michael Keaton, did just an amazing job as the Batman. Nobody saw it coming. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. It's just, yeah, great. And I agree with you. We both agree with you. The aesthetic was just fantastic. Then Antonio's been in the chat. He mentioned about the scoop. Again, the original scoop that we were talking about earlier, that was debunked by James Gunn about the Joker series being in development, like rumored to be in the works. James Gunn was like, we haven't even talked about it. It's not true, not happening. Antonio saying Jeff Snyder, he keeps on saying stuff and keeps on getting rebuked. He needs to take his time. He don't need my advice, but he needs to take his time.
Yeah.
And
I think people are just so excited. Like, I need to get this information out now.
He needs to get it out there, and maybe he needs to kind of vet it a little bit more. Yeah. Hunter Iggy in the chat saying, "Go put the picture of Fanboy from Freakazoid and Dan. They look alike." What? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I look a lot. I don't know, Hunter
You
Iggy.
look
I don't know
like Fanboy. What is your obsession with Fanboy from Freakazoid? Like, goddamn.
I don't know, Hunter. I don't know if that's true, but anyway. But yes, Antonio making a good point. I think because remember the Lanterns casting before Aaron Pierre was confirmed, literally the day before, the other actor who was in like the short list for the role,
Calvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I think Jeff Snyder was like, oh, he's the front runner, and the next day we find out Aaron Pierre got the role, and like it was all official everywhere. So yeah, Jeff Snyder he's hit a few bumps in the road recently, so hopefully he can vet his information a little bit better. Maybe his sources need to do that. So or like he needs to just vet his sources a bit more. Anyway, but let's keep going. So Ron, of course, again, been in the chat, and Ron was saying earlier, I sound pretty normal. I mean, I sound a lot better than I did a week ago. I'm still feeling a little bit of the phlegm. There's like the cough is still a little there, but it's good to be back. And he was mentioning that I personally don't want the Batman Matt Reeves verse to continue because of the DCU at the same time, but I'm loving the Batman and the Penguin show. So this is an interesting
two at the same time.
It's an interesting take because again, Ron,
it's going to be so different.
So. Yeah, and you were saying, I mean, Ron continued to say in the chat later. I was looking at your comments. The reason why you're saying you don't want this to continue is because you want like the Bat family to be a big part of the DCU, and you feel like they will sort of like kind of clash with each other. But I mean, I feel like it doesn't need to clash because they're so different in tone. Like I feel like the version of the Bat family we're gonna get in the DCU is gonna feel very much the DCU, a little more fantastical, a little more elevated, whereas what we're getting with the Batman universe is much more grounded, and it feels like we're not all of a sudden gonna get like 5 different the Bat family characters. We're probably gonna get maybe a Robin, but like I don't think we're gonna get all of a sudden Batgirl, Robin, and Jason Todd and everything all at the same time. So they're gonna play it a little more close to the vest, a little slower build in the Batman universe. Plus, it's the DCU is much more expansive, so I don't think it's gonna clash as much as you maybe think it will. And I feel like because the Batman is so popular, there's no reason for DC Studios to just give up on that. I feel like they're gonna continue it because people love it. So I mean, it's. But Josh saying Mr. Mom is Batman. Yeah, I know. Like Michael Keaton, nobody loved Michael. Nobody thought Michael Keaton would be a good Batman. But hey, he's Batman. He's still Batman. But what do you think, John? What do you think? Do you think people can kind of have their cake and eat it too kind of situation with having the DCU and the Batman epic crime saga going on at the same time?
I think they can make that work because I know people complained like, oh, they can't have 2 Superman, but they're having 2 Batman. Well, the reason that Superman and Lois is ending is not because of the 2 Superman thing. It's because Nexstar predominantly owns CW now, and I think Warner Brothers and Paramount collectively have like a 10% stake now. Like it's like 5% each. I think
They're
if they have any at
basically
all.
like perfunctory, their roles. They're like not even really
They're not
involved
even a
so much.
thing, and it's just like it wouldn't make
Yeah.
sense to like for Nexstar to like have this Warner Brothers property be on their channel anymore. And as well as the fact they're moving away from like fictional programming to like shows like that to like more reality stuff, like game
Yeah.
shows and news and like that kind of thing. So I don't know, like it's so weird. Like you have so many people complaining, like, oh, they're ending Superman and Lois because they can't have two Superman. That's so stupid. And then the same people turn around like, oh, they're having a DCU Batman and a The Batman. Oh, that's gonna be dumb and confusing. It's like pick a lane. My God, it's just and I'm not saying and Ron, I'm not like saying that like you're like no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there's people like that complain about both sides of the argument. Then it's like, what the fuck do you want?
Right.
But that's fair. That's fair. The general audience, they'll be like, this is confusing. So is this like a prequel to the DCU? Because general audiences.
But I think there's enough. This is the challenge they'll have, and I think they'll do a good enough of a job to differentiate the two that we won't get confused. Because of course, like when they introduce a new Batman, which has and there's a Damian Wayne involved, it's going to be very different looking and very different sounding and everything, the aesthetic from the Batman, which by then would have had at least 2 movies and maybe a couple of TV series. So like I think there's enough differentiation that we don't have to worry so much about it. But continuing on in the Batman Epic Crime Saga, Buster Barnes was earlier asking about the idea of, are we going to get like the Penguin referencing the Batman at any point in the final episode? Will the Penguin complete its try not to reference Batman challenge? Do you think we're gonna like get no mention of the Batman in the series finale, or do you think we're gonna get some kind of hint that the bat
like
is hanging
on the
about
TV or something? Somebody mentioned like, oh, in a news report. That's like the most I could predict. I don't think we're going to be getting anything from Batman. I think Matt Reeves was clear with that. I think he wants to keep it separate. So, and I think they'll go with that most definitely. Yeah. I feel like that's seems like par for the course.
I agree with you completely. I think so far they've sort of kept up with it, and you know what? It feels natural because really the show is pretty far removed from like the domain of what the Batman, especially considering at the end of the first movie, the character is sort of going through a bit of a transformation in his own belief system and what Bruce Wayne believes the Batman character to be and his value to Gotham. So, like they don't have to reference it because, we could just pick up the story from where the Penguin leaves it off in terms of where Gotham is in general, and then the Batman is sort of like fighting off some villain in the beginning of the Batman 2. So I'm willing to bet that they're not going to do it, but then again, the show keeps surprising us, so who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Josh has a much brighter take on the matter. He's like, I hope the Penguin ends in a musical that recalls everything leading up to the finale.
That's going to be half the episode, and then like and then like the next 20 minutes is going to be like something else, and then 5 minutes is just going to be like just Penguin shoots Sophia in the head.
Yeah,
boom, there you go. That's the episode.
I mean, these pictures sort of like, I don't know, is that feels like maybe that could be a part of a musical. I don't know. It's very possible. It's if you look at some of the images from the final episode, I mean, there's elements of it. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, I think it would be very surprising if we went that route. But
I mean, they did have Top Hat in the this last episode. They did have the reference to Fred Astaire film. So
Buster Barnes, what am I? Some sort of the Penguin? Yeah. Katna's in the chat. Hello, more Katna. Hi. And thanks for stopping by. But okay, so we've got a couple more comments, so let's keep going through them. The Watcher, another comment. He's like, I need Sophia meeting Catman. Come on, Reeves. Do you think is that gonna happen?
You said Catman. I'm like,
oh my God. Catwoman. I need Sophia meeting Catwoman. Come on, Reeves, says the Watcher. Sorry, my bad. He's still recovering a little bit. I wouldn't mind
seeing Catman, although Adam West is no longer and I'm not talking about the DC Catman. I'm talking about the Fairly Odd Parents version of Catman, voiced by Adam West. They'll get like archive footage and like, boom, there you go, perfect.
Wow, I didn't even remember that was a character. But what do you think? Do you think we're gonna eventually see Sophia meet essentially
That would be
what is
really
her
cool. I don't know if
stepsister
they're gonna do
or
that,
yeah,
but it
half
would be
sister?
half
Yeah,
sister.
yeah. Because I mean, her look, Sophia's character has become so iconic in this show that if they were to cross paths, because again, like the Catwoman is sort of doing her own thing in a different city now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so there's every chance we might even get a Catwoman TV series. I mean, that would be more likely than a Joker TV series coming after the Batman 2. And
Yeah.
of course, if Sophia's still around, then maybe she can, cross over with that. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Because just that dynamic of, oh, I have a sister I didn't know about, because I don't know if Sophia even knows that Selena Kyle is her half sister. So, but yeah. So yeah, Antonio, Catman isn't Catman Marvel? I don't know. I'm sorry, that's my bad. Um, um, so my bad. The Watcher saying,
No, Catman isn't Marvel. Catman is no, Catman's DC.
yeah,
He fought Batman. Like he was a Batman villain for a little
that's
bit,
true.
and then
Yeah.
he became a Green Arrow villain, and then he like became this
Oh,
fucking
Antonio's
pathetic
thinking of
sad
Black
sack of shit.
Cat. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Sorry.
Very different. Well, that's
Very different
honestly
character.
that's
Very
Marvel's
different character.
Catwoman essentially. So
Yeah.
you know,
But okay, so let's keep on going. We do have a couple more comments before we wrap up. I mean, you guys have been dropping, as always, lots of comments in the chat. So,
that
Josh,
awesome.
again, Mr. Mix-Split in Superman 2025 was his pick. It doesn't look like we're getting him. I mean, maybe there'll be a surprise cameo.
Spitlick, and you spelled it wrong, but it's honestly it's fair because Mixie Spitlick is like
It's
the guy just
purposefully
bashed
trivial.
on his typewriter. That's the boom. There you go, and that's the character. But I would have loved to have seen him like played by. I know Peter Dinklage would have been the easy go-to, but honestly, I would have liked to see Brad Williams more. That would be way more awesome because he's funny. Like it makes sense. So I would love to see that. And again, not for the first movie, but
Right.
like I would love to see like a psychological like horror comedy with Mixie. That would be really fun. Like a meta horror psychological.
Yeah. No, and I agree with Buster. I think we're eventually gonna get the character. Like, it's. But as a horror, that would be interesting. Do you think they'd do that in the Superman movie though? Like if.
Maybe they'll wait a bit. I could see that would be like a perfect James Gunn villain, though. That would be like right up his alley. Like,
maybe that could be a mini series of its own. That could work potentially, because I could see that if they did it that way, or because I don't know if that would be a mainline Superman villain if that works. But then again, I mean, I wouldn't put anything past James Gunn. Okay, but last comment of the day. This one comes from Buster Barnes again with the mention of I like the Ultraman villain route they're going for in this new Superman movie. We did have this rumor or sort of like a confirmation because McFarlane Toys has been putting out toys for the Superman movie, and apparently one of them featured a character, the masked mystery character labeled as Ultraman. So we're all wondering if that's a spoiler indeed that Ultraman is this.
James Gunn said it
character.
wasn't. So...
I mean, he said it wasn't. I mean, but I'm like, it's a little too convenient, It's like I personally think that again, that's James Gunn trying to do some damage control, but or I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's indeed right. I mean, he knows the movie better than any of us. So, I mean, but if it's not Ultraman, who do you think it could be? Like, I feel like Ultraman is probably
Ulysses, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. I mean, if they're really going for like really weird and obscure, which James Gunn does from time to time, I could see that, but like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Ultraman weirdly makes sense, but then it's like you're kind of like writing yourself into a box. If then you can like really never bring in like the crime syndicate, which they might never do, but I really want to see the Justice League fight the crime syndicate. Like, God damn it, I want to see that. And I don't know, it just feels weird if they do, in fact, do that. Like, But I can see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind it being Ultraman. We have never really seen a live action iteration of the character, so it would be new ground. But it would be interesting to see if that McFarlane Toys spoiler is indeed true or not. So, but that's that's all we got for today, guys. I mean, it's been great being back on the show. My voice held up. I'm so glad that it didn't give out. But thanks for sticking around and chatting it up with us and from the world of DC, the DCU, DC Studios, the Batman Epic Crime Saga. We've got so much to look forward to. The Penguin wraps up with episode 8, the series finale, this Sunday. We're going to be watching it. On Monday, we're going to do a full review for the show. Come here if you want to listen for the review. I think we're going to start off with like a spoiler-free review, and then we're going to dive into the spoilers. So if you guys don't get a chance to see it on Sunday, then you can obviously come back and, watch the episode after you have seen the series finale of the Penguin. But be sure to stop by, and of course any other news from the world of DC, whether it's anything related to CCXP with the Superman making a presence known there. Future Commando's coming out soon. Of course, Superman and Lois continues its the final season run, so we're going to continue to review that as well. So John is going to be back on Monday alongside Bridget. We're going to have the review for the Penguin series finale. We're going to do Superman and Lois. We've got so much more to get into, of course, and as the week goes on, we got more fan castings. Of course, you guys have your opinions. We have more of your comments to get into. We appreciate any of your super chats, of course. As always, you're welcome to drop those in, and we're going to bring those into the show as well. So as always, hit that like button if you haven't already. We really appreciate that. And hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live in the new show. John, thank you so much for holding the fort down the last couple of weeks. I'm so glad to be back. And of course, as always, it's been a great conversation. Buster Barnes, we've got Ron, the Watcher. Just the conversation continues. Chris Pratt as Anti-Monitor.
All you guys.
More Katna, of course, Antonio, Fiona,
not Chris
Hunter
Pratt,
Agee.
Christ Pratt.
Christ? Oh, who's Christ Pat? I don't know who Christ.
He said Christ Pratt as Anti-Monitor.
That would be very meta. But yeah, I mean, he says whoops. Well, okay, that's all right. We'll let it go, Buster. We know what you meant. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another great show. I mean, it's great talking to you guys, being back on the show. We'll be back on Monday with another live DCU Daily, and then, of course, the rest of the week. We'll have our Oso Curious show next week as well. Now that I'm starting to feel a little bit better, we're going to get back and do some movie reviews, so we will do that, of course, as well. John, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope all of you guys have a great weekend, and you check out The Penguin, and then we'll review that on Monday. Until then, guys, it's been another great episode of DCU Daily. We'll see you next time.